Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, Corey and Evelin. Let's watch.
But I have something to tell you, and it's been killing me. But I have to get it on my chest. I don't know if you know, but a few years ago, Evelin and I had a fling. You got a fling? What do you mean by that? We kind of hook up a few times.
Okay, so on one hand, no harm in that. It was, I believe, before Corey and Evelin were together. And Corey is now finding out that his friend got together with his girlfriend years ago. And the friend is saying it in this very caring way. Like, I'm sorry, I got to tell you something. It's been eating me up. And we had a fling. We hooked up a few times. So, how does Corey react to it? Well, there's two different categories of reactivity, or maybe three. One is you're like, well, it's a long, some people, they just don't get affected by that. They just think, well, it was a long time ago. I don't know, it doesn't threaten me, doesn't bother me. The other reaction you could have is maybe on the other side, where you have a big reaction of, I can't believe this happened. This is a massive, because it could be interpreted as a betrayal. One, that it happened even though it happened before. One of the things that we have trouble with in our brains is understanding time spans. And when we think about, like, if for all of us in a relationship, we understand intellectually that our partners were involved with other people in the past. We understand that, or most of us understand that, and for most of us, that's true. But it doesn't bother us because, everyone has a history. But to focus on it in our brain, or if we saw a videotape of 10 years ago and our spouse was with someone else, it would really affect us, most people, not everyone. But for a lot of people, it would affect them. That's because our brains in those moments don't have the ability to say, that was a long time ago. It's not happening right now. Our brains don't really understand how to do that because we're seeing it happening. We didn't evolve with videotapes or with the, common experience of having to deal with this. Anyway, so when we visualize things, it also can feel as though it's happening right now, even though it was a long time ago. So it's possible for some people in Corey's position to hear about this and feel as though it just happened or it's happening right now, even though it was a long time ago. And then you would get very hurt. You'd be very concerned. You'd be very angry. You might even be angry at your friend for not telling you earlier. Maybe, this compounding betrayal, compounding distrust of not only did it happen, but you've waited this whole time to tell me about it. So that's another reaction. The other reaction that one could have in this situation would be like a temporary jolt of, ooh, that doesn't feel good. But now that I think about it, I don't know. I don't feel threatened by you. I like you. I don't worry that you're going to try to steal her away from me. I don't worry that she's going to be with you. And so it's not a wonderful thing to think about, but it's not going to affect me, and I'll get over it. Let's see what Corey does.
I met you before she met you as well. I'm sorry. You're my friend now, and you deserve to know the truth.
I try not to be a jealous person, but how can I not be when Raul and Evelin have a past? Why am I just now finding out? He's my only friend.
Right. So on one hand, I think you would have a legitimate hurt that it was just told to you now, especially by Evelin. Evelin could have said, by the way, that guy that you're becoming friends with, we hooked up a while ago. I don't want to be with that person. Don't worry about it. So there's that. And also he could feel betrayed by Raul, the friend. But he said something interesting. He said, how can I not feel bad about this? I think it's normal to feel a little bad about it for sure, but I think there's a wide variety of reactivity to this. And depending on your attachment security, you'll hear me talk about attachment styles, and the idea is that when we're raised well enough and we have this working model of self and other, that we can trust other people, generally speaking, and that we are generally lovable, generally. When things like this happen, they will hurt us a little bit, but we have a pretty strong foundation to stand on, where you say, okay, my friend got together with my girlfriend years ago before I met Evelin. That doesn't feel great, but I know that other people, including Evelin, can be trusted. I know that other people, including Raul, can be trusted. I know that I'm relatively lovable, whether this relationship works out or not. So although it doesn't feel great, it doesn't threaten me very much. So for Corey, he's talking about how it is very hurtful and there's a lot of feelings, a lot of negative feelings around it. I wonder if that's an indication of attachment insecurity.
And now I'm wondering, like, can I trust him? Like, does he still have feelings for her? I do appreciate you telling me that. I feel like Evelin should have been the one to, fill me in on that more. Good.
Yeah, I agree that Evelin is closer to Corey, obviously. Evelin has a deeper relationship, for Raul to, at the first time that he's hanging out with Corey, to be like, by the way, I slept with your girlfriend a while ago. That might be a little not so customary, but for Evelin to watch your boyfriend befriending one of your hookups in the past and not say, by the way, just to let you know. Now, maybe Evelin thought they're not going to become friends, so I don't have to say anything. But I think it's differentiated and healthy for Corey to be like, wait a second, why didn't Evelin tell me about this at some point? Why is Raul the one that's telling me about this? And the concern is, what else has Evelin not told me? That's always the worry, that when you lie by omission, you create a precedent that says, what else are you lying about by omission?
And she cheated on me.
I don't know if you know this, but all the town knows about it. They call you El Cachudo.
What does that mean? I don't even know. What do you mean?
That your wife or girlfriend is cheating on you. They put the horns on your head like a bull.
Yikes. So the whole town knows that Evelin cheated on him, and the whole town, according to Raul, makes fun of him behind his back. Yikes. That's uncalled for. That's rough.
And everybody knows that Evelin's been cheating on him. Corey's an amazing guy. He's really sweet. And it's just fair for Corey to know the truth. I feel sorry for him, but every time somebody calls him cachudo, I just can't stop laughing. It's such a funny word.
Well, if you're, against the community calling him this horrible name and you like him, then you shouldn't respond that way when people make the joke. You should say, that's not funny. A lot of people have been cheated on before. He's a really great guy. If you should be making fun of anyone, it should be Evelin for cheating in the first place, but I don't think we should be making fun of anyone in this situation.
I just don't even know how to process this right now, to be honest with you.
We have a saying in Latin America: who has the power in a relationship? The person that loves the least. So Corey's just crazy in love with Evelin. I don't think Evelin feels the same way towards him.
Yeah, there seem to be a number of indications that is true. And they're talking about what on Seinfeld they called hand. Wasn't that what they called that? If you have upper hand, meaning that your partner likes you more than you like them. Anyway, that's an interesting saying that Raul is talking about, that, it's always a battle or something. And I've certainly heard of similar sentiments in the United States for sure. Hopefully, though, you love each other equally, or at least close to equally, or at least equally enough that it looks equal. Actually, I should back up and say that marriages or long-term romantic relationships can be whatever people want them to be. Often, and I think Corey is one of these individuals, you're looking for a mutual love.
Why are people in the town talking about all this stuff?
Well, I haven't heard any like that, and I think Raul must be jealous or something to create something like that.
Yeah, I think he is too, because he told me about you and him together.
He did say that.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think there's anything wrong with Raul and Evelin having a past. It sounds like they live in a really small town, so the chance that two people in a town having some kind of relationship at some point is a lot higher, right? So, but how do you react if you're Evelin? Do you say, I'm really sorry I didn't tell you, you don't have anything to worry about, I love you, I want to be with you? Or even if we assume, we don't know, that Evelin doesn't really like Corey that much, or doesn't know if she loves Corey that much, she could say something like, yeah, it was a long time ago, I'm sorry I didn't tell you, I don't want to be with Raul, so I wouldn't worry about that. So let's see what Evelin says.
I don't even know what to think anymore.
That happened before I met you, so it shouldn't even matter. I never asked you with who you've been.
You've told me that I have to take all of my exes off of social media, which I have happily done. I need to know what is going on with the whole...
Interesting. He's saying that she made him take all past relationships off social media, which he did. We heard in a previous episode that she was still in contact with the ex that she cheated on him with. So, it's okay if they have different requirements of each other, but it does provide some context. And she's saying, look, and I get it in isolation, the idea makes sense that, look, you've been with people in the past, I've been with people in the past, what's the big deal? But on the other hand, it was his friend. Corey comes to Ecuador, meets this guy, they start to be friends, and at some point Evelin should say something like, so just to let you know, we used to date. I don't want to go into the details, but I just don't want it to come out and you to be blindsided with that information. There's nothing to worry about. So the fact that Corey is upset that she didn't tell him, I think makes sense. The fact that she has a history, I don't think should really be of an issue with him. But let's see. I keep waiting for Evelin to show some kind of compassion, some kind of love for him, some kind of like for him.
Raul situation. What is going on with the ex situation? Why is your ex talking with you? Why is he still talking with your family?
Oh, my family loves him.
And where's your ring? Where?
I have no idea.
Seriously?
I've been looking for it.
Well, find it, because that means nothing until you find it and start.
Okay, so he's now kind of spinning out. His worries are compounding, and I think his worries make sense. How do you communicate about them? How do they work it out? I think what's happening is he's having normal kinds of insecurities. He's communicating about them, and she just seems to be blowing him off, which causes him to be more upset, which I think causes her to pull away even more. And he's adding to it and saying, where's your ring? So I didn't know this detail, but I think they have like a promise ring, not an engagement ring situation. And he's like, where's your ring? And she's like, I don't know where it is. And then it's sitting right there. So as I've been saying from the beginning, are we watching a pursuer-distancer relationship? And or are we watching a relationship that someone is in love with someone and the other person clearly is not? I don't know.
Support to me, because seriously, what am I doing? I feel stupid. Evelin and I were together at a fair about a year ago, and I decided to get us promise rings. It really bothers me that Evelin won't support me and wear the promise ring. I feel like you should.
So that we've seen some indications of that as well, that he has requirements for her. And you hear what he said. A year ago, we were at the fair, and I bought us both promise rings, and I'm upset that she won't support me in this. Support you? I mean, people wear promise rings as a choice, not as I'm supportive of you. That both people come to the table and say, yes, I am making a promise for this relationship. So instead of interpreting that for himself as maybe she's not that into me, I don't know if that's true or not, but that would be a common thing, and particularly if you're his friend or family member, you'd be like, I don't know if, in fact, Raul said that, like, I don't think she's into him as much as he's into her. Instead of having that as a question, he says, I'm entitled to it, you must do this, and that's usually out of a desperation. Usually when you're so terrified of being abandoned, so terrified of being alone, sometimes it will eclipse, that fear will eclipse your ability to recognize that the other person has feelings and has their own preferences. So it's like, look, I don't care if you want to be in a relationship with me or not, because I'm so desperate for this attachment that I'm just going to require it out of you.
I want to wear a ring.
I don't want to wear a
Support
ring.
me. Exactly. I give up my life to come here, and you're not wearing the ring. Where is it?
I really don't know what it is.
Are you in this or not?
Right. That would be a question that they should have, not when they're upset, but are you in this relationship? Do you want to be with me? I think that is a very valid question that I don't think she has a very satisfactory answer for him.
Like, for real, are you in it or not?
I guess I'm not.
All right. So from that, I would assume that there was a part of her that was like, yeah, let's see how this goes. And maybe this will work out really great. But maybe it won't. And I could see it going either way. And now that things are not going so well, and now he's barking at me and he's saying in or out, I guess I'm out. To me, that says she's just not that into him, which is fine. She isn't in love with him the way that he is with her. She maybe thought it might grow. We've seen that with other couples on this show before, where people enter in thinking, well, maybe it'll grow, maybe it'll get better, and then it doesn't. So this is confusing to me, because the only reason why I'm going back in time and watching this couple is because I know they're on the current season of The Other Way, which is a couple years later. So they're still together, which I find surprising.
Do you still have a thing going?
I don't explain you.
Do you?
I am not with him. He's just a great friend. I am so upset with Corey because when all of this happened, he was the one who said, love forgets everything. We are fine.
Sure. And if you're wanting him to stand by that statement while he's not, then okay. But some compassion during this conversation, just like, yeah, I did get together with Raul in the past, and I'm sorry for not telling you. There's no threat there. I love you. I want to be with you. If she actually loved him. But I think what they're running into is she does not love him. She has said multiple times, including right now, she's not in the relationship. And instead of him really hearing that, and if I were his friend, I'd be like, dude, you got to stop. You got to listen to what she just said there. She just says she's not in the relationship. You were giving her an ultimatum. You in or you out? And she says, I'm out. So that hurts. And take a pause, take a minute, and just think about that for a second. Because I think you're operating on a fantasy, on a hope that she's into it more than she actually is.
And so he shouldn't be bringing it right now.
Why is he so important in your life still?
I care about his life, and you know that.
That's a problem.
That he's not getting out of my life. He was here before you, and he's going to be after.
Wow. I mean, the coldness. It'd be one thing if she's done, right? If she's like, yeah, this is a mistake. Fine, you're done. You were only halfway in it to begin with. Okay. But to say something like that, like but and maybe that's true. Maybe she's just like, look, he's been a friend for a long time. Yes, we did get together, but we're done, and he's going to be a friend of mine for a long time after you're long gone. So you can't tell me who I can and can't be friends with. Okay. But I don't know. I don't think they're breaking up, though, because they're on a future season, right? I don't know. I'm really confused.
Is this where it happened, right here in the room?
What are you talking about?
You and your ex. I just want us to be open and honest.
You've heard me talk about this before, that the cheated on partner or people in his position, because on one hand, he was, according to what their narrative is, he was cheated on, sort of. On the other hand, with Raul, he wasn't cheated on because that was before he met Evelin. But anyway, it's a frequent way of trying to resolve the situation that people will get into, where they want to know details. And on one hand, it might help, but on the other hand, it might actually hurt. And you're not necessarily entitled to the details. And it can be a way of kind of taking the Evelins of the world and shoving their face in it. Like, you're going to tell me every dirty detail of what you did because I want you to be ashamed of yourself. And so where was it? What happened? What did you do? And so on one hand, it can be a very aggressive move. On the other hand, it can be this desperation of like, well, if I know what happened, I will feel better, which of course isn't always true.
And I just want you to admit that it happened right here on our bed.
I'm even sick to answer to you right now.
Yeah. So she doesn't have to answer that question. She doesn't have to get into it. I think effectively they're broken up at this point. So I don't even know why they're having this conversation. I think they're just in that messy zone of breakup talk where they're not in a constructive space.
Can't believe you just say all these things. You got so low. This is so low. You like literally got no limits. And we talk about this before everything.
Interesting. So she's crying, which indicates that she is hurt. This is the first bit of tenderness or emotion that we've seen from her. We knew that this was happening somehow, but it's interesting that she feels really hurt by this. And I think he meant it to hurt, right? And that's what I was saying is sometimes the Corys of the world will aggressively try to shame someone by saying, you know, essentially it could be a version of slut shaming, maybe that's what she's hurt by.
I don't know what to do, and I was so committed.
Just get out of here. You get the out of here. It's for real. Get out.
So breaking up is fine, but where's he supposed to go? Are there hotels? Maybe there are. And maybe she knows that. Maybe she knows, look, he's got money. There are hotels. He'll be fine. But yeah, I will say that I'm not surprised by what's happening right now. There were so many things pointing to that she just wasn't into it. Every time they ran into any kind of complaint from him or any kind of concern that he might have, she just was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. You can't talk about it. She cheated on him in the past, although that's questionable because they were on a break. Anyway, she doesn't seem to care about his feelings. So the fact that this is happening makes total sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is that they're still together today. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.